Is Jonathan McReynolds struggling in secret? Fans are worried. Many fans have quietly started asking the same question about Jonathan McReynolds. Is he okay? For years, he has been known as a calm, thoughtful voice in gospel music, someone who always appears steady, focused, and spiritually grounded. But recently, some supporters feel like something has shifted. It is not one big dramatic moment that caused concern. Instead, it is small details, a slightly different tone in his voice during a recent appearance, a shorter message than usual on social media, a look in his eyes that seemed more tired than before. None of these things prove anything, but when fans care deeply about an artist, they notice even the smallest changes. What made people more curious is how consistent he has always been. He normally shares encouraging words, thoughtful reflections, and meaningful updates about his journey. But lately, the posts have been less frequent. The energy feels quieter. Some fans say he looks like he is carrying something heavy, even if he has not said it out loud. And because he has always been honest in his music, people are wondering if there is something happening behind the scenes that he is choosing to handle privately. This is not about spreading rumors or creating drama. It is about genuine concern. When someone has inspired millions with messages of faith, hope, and strength, people naturally care about their well-being. The question is not whether he has problems, because everyone does. The real question fans are asking is whether he might be going through a season of struggle in silence. And if that is true, what does that mean for someone who is always expected to be strong for others? The truth is, public figures often carry pressure that most people never see, and sometimes the strongest people are the ones who struggle quietly. So today, we are exploring a fictional but realistic story inspired by those concerns. A story about pressure, expectations, and the possibility that even someone as grounded as Jonathan McReynolds could be facing a private battle. Before anyone jumps to conclusions, it is important to remember who Jonathan McReynolds has always been in the public eye. From the very beginning of his career, he stood out for being different. While many artists focused only on powerful vocals, Jonathan became known for his thoughtful lyrics and honest conversations about faith, doubt, and personal growth. He never presented himself as perfect. Instead, he built his platform on transparency and reflection. That is one of the main reasons people connected with him so deeply. Over the years, he grew from a young gospel singer into a respected voice in Christian music. His songs often felt like personal diary entries, speaking about real struggles, questions about purpose, and the pressure of trying to do the right thing. Fans admired how calm and mature he appeared during interviews. He always chose his words carefully. He never rushed to speak. He gave the impression of someone who had learned how to handle life with patience and wisdom. Because of that image, the recent shift feels unusual to some supporters. They are used to seeing him confident, focused, and emotionally steady. They are used to hearing him speak openly about lessons he has learned. So when that steady rhythm changes even slightly, it stands out more than it would for another artist. It is not that he has done anything dramatic, it is simply that the consistency people depended on seems a little different. Another reason fans are paying attention is because Jonathan has previously spoken about pressure in the industry. In past interviews, he admitted that being a gospel artist comes with expectations that go beyond music. People do not just listen to the songs, they look at the lifestyle, the attitude, the choices. That kind of responsibility can be heavy over time. When someone becomes both an entertainer and a spiritual role model, there is very little room to show weakness. The first signs were not loud. There was no dramatic announcement, no sudden controversy, and no shocking headline. Instead, it started with small moments that loyal supporters began to notice about Jonathan McReynolds. A scheduled appearance that was quietly postponed, an interview that felt shorter than usual, a live performance where his smile did not seem as bright as it once did. On their own, these details did not mean much, but when placed together, they created a feeling that something might be different. Fans who have followed his journey for years often say they can sense his mood through his music and body language. During a recent event, some viewers commented that he looked more serious than usual, almost distracted. His words were still kind and thoughtful, but there was a softer energy, like someone carrying a weight that others could not see. Of course, everyone has off days, but when you are constantly in the public eye, even normal human moments can raise questions. Another thing that stood out was the timing of his recent creative work. A few lyrics in a new song felt more personal and heavy than what fans were used to. The themes of exhaustion, reflection, and needing space seemed stronger. Many listeners connected with the message, but some also wondered if those words were coming from a deeper place. Artists often turn their personal battles into music, and Jonathan has always been honest in that way. So naturally, people began asking if the emotions in the lyrics reflected something happening behind the scenes. Social media activity also slowed down. Where he once posted consistent encouragement and thoughtful reflections, there were now longer gaps between updates. When he did post, the captions were shorter, sometimes more reflective than celebratory. Again, none of this proves anything. It could simply mean he is focusing on real life instead of online life. But in today's world, silence often speaks loudly. What makes it more noticeable is the contrast. Supporters are used to seeing him balanced and steady, so even a slight change in tone or rhythm feels significant. Some fans started leaving comments like, "We're praying for you," or "Take your time if you need it." These messages were not based on confirmed facts. They were based on instinct, the kind that comes from years of watching someone grow. At this stage, there was still no clear sign of trouble, just a quiet feeling among followers that something might be happening beneath the surface. And sometimes, those quiet feelings are what start a much bigger conversation. As the small changes continued, conversations slowly began to grow online. At first, it was just a few comments under posts from Jonathan McReynolds. Fans were not accusing him of anything. They were simply expressing concern. "Is he okay?" one person wrote. Another said, "He seems different lately." These comments were soft and respectful, but they opened the door to something bigger. Soon, fan pages started discussing the shift. Short video clips comparing older interviews to more recent appearances began circulating. In older clips, Jonathan appeared energetic, smiling often, speaking with light humor. In newer moments, he seemed more serious and reflective. Some viewers described it as growth and maturity. Others wondered if it was stress or burnout. The internet, as always, had mixed opinions. On platforms like Instagram and X, discussions became more detailed. Some supporters suggested that he might simply be taking a step back to protect his peace. Others believed the pressure of constantly being in the spotlight could finally be catching up with him. A few extreme voices tried to turn concern into dramatic rumors, but many fans pushed back, reminding everyone that assumptions can be harmful. What stood out most was how protective his true supporters were. Instead of spreading negativity, many began encouraging rest and privacy. They shared older clips of his motivational messages and reminded each other that even strong leaders need time to breathe. It became less about gossip and more about empathy. That shift showed how deeply connected people feel to him. At the same time, the silence from his team added to the mystery. There was no statement, no clarification, and no explanation for the slower pace. While that is completely normal, in today's digital world, people expect constant updates. When updates stop, speculation begins. It is not always fair, but it is reality. To truly understand why fans are concerned, we have to talk about the weight that comes with being someone like Jonathan McReynolds. Being a gospel artist is not the same as being a regular entertainer. The expectations are different. People do not just look at the music charts or ticket sales. They look at character, lifestyle, faith, and personal choices. When you sing about hope, strength, and trusting God, people expect you to live that message every single day. That kind of responsibility can be heavy over time. Every performance is not just a show, it feels like ministry. Every interview is not just promotion, it becomes a lesson. Every social media post is not just content, it becomes inspiration. When you are constantly lifting others up, it can be easy to forget to check on yourself. And sometimes, the person encouraging everyone else may quietly need encouragement too. Touring alone can be exhausting. Long flights, different time zones, rehearsals, public appearances, and late nights. Even if someone loves what they do, the physical and emotional strain can slowly build. Add to that the pressure of always appearing strong. In gospel music especially, showing weakness can feel complicated. Some fans may understand, but others might question it. So many artists choose to handle personal battles privately rather than publicly. Jonathan has always spoken about growth and learning, but growth often comes through difficult seasons. If he is facing a personal challenge, whether it is creative exhaustion, emotional pressure, or simply the need to step back and reflect, that would not make him weak. It would make him human. And sometimes the strongest people are the ones who feel they must hide their struggles to protect their image. Another layer of pressure is leadership. Many young artists look up to him. Many churches invite him not just to sing, but to speak. That creates a constant demand to be spiritually and emotionally prepared. But no one can pour from an empty place forever. Even leaders need rest. So when fans say they sense something different, it may not mean scandal or crisis. It could simply mean that the weight of years in the spotlight is finally being felt. And if that is the case, the real story is not about weakness. It is about the reality that everyone, no matter how faithful or successful, has limits. Just when the online conversation began to calm down, a single post brought everything back to the surface. It was not dramatic, it was not long, but it felt personal. Jonathan McReynolds shared a short message that read something like, "Sometimes strength looks like stepping back." There was no detailed explanation, no follow-up comment, just that one sentence. For many fans, those words felt deeper than they appeared. Some saw it as wisdom, a reminder that rest is important. Others read it as a quiet confession that he might be overwhelmed. The phrase, "stepping back," especially caught attention. Stepping back from what? From music? From public life? From pressure? Because he did not clarify, people began filling in the blanks themselves. The tone of the message was reflective, almost gentle. It did not sound sad, but it did not sound celebratory either. It felt like someone thinking out loud. And because Jonathan has always used simple but meaningful language in his music, fans are used to reading between the lines. They started asking if this was his way of preparing them for a break or a slower season. In the comments, supporters were mostly encouraging. Many wrote, "Take all the time you need." Others said, "We're praying for you." There were very few negative reactions, which shows the respect people have for him. But even supportive comments confirmed one thing. People believe something may be happening beneath the surface. At the same time, some followers reminded others not to overthink it. They argued that not every thoughtful message is a cry for help. Sometimes a sentence is just a sentence. In today's world, where every word from a public figure is analyzed, it is easy to turn reflection into speculation. Still, the timing of that message felt important. Coming after weeks of quieter activity and subtle changes in energy, it seemed to connect the dots for many observers. Whether it was about personal growth, emotional rest, or creative space, it signaled that he was thinking deeply about something. And when someone known for always moving forward starts talking about stepping back,